Hi, it's Jenny from Unlocking Potential, your ISEE preparation specialists, and we're here today to talk about the reading comprehension section and answer a really important question that a lot of parents have, which is, in the reading comprehension section, should my child read the questions first or read the passage first? So let's take a look at what it looks like to do both methods, and then we'll talk a little bit more about what I'd recommend. So if you're reading the questions first, what it looks like is you're reading the question, you're jumping back to the passage to look for maybe the answer to that question, or maybe even you read all the questions all the way through and then you're jumping back and then you have to look back to the questions and then to refer back to the passage and, back and forth. Switching your brain from question mode to passage mode. And by the end, when you get to the more general questions or questions that are talking about the passage as a whole, you might have to reread a lot more of it in order to figure out what is this passage saying or what is the author saying as a whole. So now, what if you're reading the passage first? Well, if you're reading the passage first, you don't have any of those questions already telling you what you should be looking for, so your mind is really freed up to read and understand the passage. Read the passage, understand, ask what the point is. Also, for a tip on how to effectively read passages, refer back to our other video about quick summaries in reading comprehension. Okay? But if you're reading the passage and you're reading it well, comprehending, understanding it as a whole, all of the little pieces kind of fit together into one main point. Now, is it going to take you a little bit longer? Probably. But then once you go to answer the questions, you can answer the questions, you can maybe refer back, touch on what you needed to see, confirm that it's the right answer, and answer your questions. So, looking at kind of both of those, what I would definitely recommend is definitely reading the passage first and then answering the questions. Now, you do need to read the passage the right way, but if you're reading it well, you should really only have to read it once. So there's a couple reasons why I do recommend this method. First of all, it's like I was saying before, you're reading the passage for the understanding of the passage as a whole. And why this is so important is that when it comes to reading comprehension questions, there's really 4 question types. And 2 of the 4 question types are about the passage as a whole. They're more general question types that are going to, you're going to need to know what the overall tone, overall argument, or overall point of the passage is. So it's very, very important to understand the passage as a whole. So understanding of the passage of a whole is going to be better when you're reading the passage as a whole. So that's number 1. Number 2 is when you read the passage first, you avoid rereading lots of parts of the passage. What happens is if you're reading the questions first and you have to go back to the passage, it's like you're going on this treasure hunt to try to find, where is that context clue buried? Where can I find that? And oftentimes in these passages, it's not in the same paragraph or in the same place where the actual question is referring to. It might be all over or scattered throughout the passage. So when you read the passage first, you already have an understanding of what's happening here, how do these pieces all fit together, and when you read the question, you're referring back. So you're looking back for a reminder or confirmation instead of that crazy, frantic treasure hunt. So that's the reason number 2 is avoiding the rereading and that treasure hunt phenomenon. And the number 3 reason to read the passage first is that it keeps your mind in one mode at a time. Reading comprehension takes a lot of focus, and especially, in the middle of a test, you're reading kind of a boring passage. You really need as much focus as you can get. So if you're reading through the passage one time carefully, understanding that as a whole, putting the pieces together, synthesizing that information, your mind's in reading, understanding, taking in mode. You switch over to the questions, your mind's going to be in, okay, putting that together, applying the information you just learned, you're in question mode. So you go in the streamlined way from, reading mode, question mode, versus question reading, jumping back and forth, which can really have a student lose a lot of focus. So again, the reasons that we recommend that you read the passage first and then answer the questions are, first of all, the understanding of the passage as a whole. Second of all, avoiding the rereading and that whole treasure hunt search phenomenon. And third is to stay in one mode at a time and avoid jumping back and forth from mode to mode. So I hope that this video was helpful for you. And of course, tips and techniques can be very, very helpful. However, one of the problems we run into is that our students are very trained in sometimes bad habits or habits that aren't going to serve them on the ISEE. So when you have a student who's used to reading the questions first, it's really, I shouldn't say it's hard, it just takes something for them takes practice for them to go back and retrain themselves into better habits. Now, our program, our online workshops, are really designed to give them the strategies and then give them the place to be able to practice, to retrain themselves into habits that are going to serve them and help them to raise those scores. So, if you click on the link below, it will take you to register to our online ISEE preparation workshop. That's our holistic preparation program that will help to raise your child's ISEE scores. So go ahead and click on that link.